Oh, summer finally showed up, eh? Now it's too hot. Okay. So we just read about and heard about Jesus going up into heaven and then us being sent out. You know, it's not easy being sent out. You know, I remember how hard it was leaving the home, my parents' home, and then going to my future wife's home. It's difficult, you know, being sent out like that, you know. But back in my day, you know, if you were not going to university and you turned 18, almost overnight, your parents began to look at you differently, okay? Like, why are you still here, okay? You know? So for me, I knew it was time to leave home when my parents started referring to my bedroom as the guest room. I went, it's time to leave, okay? But at some point, we've all had to step out and into our own life and take with us everything that we've learned. At first, it feels like a loss. You know, you don't see mom and dad every day, and you don't hear their voices down the hallway. But then something changes. Their presence actually becomes deeper. Their voice moves from our ears into our heart, and we start to hear them in our decisions, in our conscience, and our instincts. And what they taught us now becomes a part of us in a way it never did when we were still at home. They become more present to us, but in a new way. And what they taught us is now inside us. Now, if a parent's voice can live within us like that, how much more does Jesus want his voice to live deep within us? Like Jesus had said, quote, "It's to your advantage that I go away. For if I do not go away, the Advocate, the Holy Spirit, will not come to you. But if I do go away, I will send him to you." So today I want to talk about two things. Jesus going up to the Father and us being sent out. Okay, this is a feast day, the Ascension. It may seem like a sad ending to all our resurrection stories. It always felt like that for me. You know, I would imagine the apostles squinting up at the sky, you know, wondering, be coming back down, or should we just wait here? Like, you know, what's going on? And then as we read, these angels show up and tell them to pick it up a level and get moving. You know, there's more work to do, right? It seems sad that we're losing the Lord that day. But by his disappearing, he's actually becoming more present, not less. Because he assured the apostles that he would teach them and remind them of everything that he had said. So he didn't really move away from us, he moved within us. Hence the word, "I will be with you always." He's not just in one place anymore because he has a glorified body. He can be everywhere, guiding us from the inside out, everywhere at the same time. Just like we read in the Acts of the Apostles, you know, where Jesus tells them, go here, you know, go there, say this, say that. That's all directing from the inside out. That's still going on today by the Holy Spirit in the church and in each one of us. So the second part of this, the command, go and make disciples of all nations, meaning go out as salesmen for God, okay? Another story here. We had just gotten married, and I was out of work, so in desperation, I sold vacuum cleaners. Door to door. Okay. I admitted that. I only sold one, by the way. My wife. We still have today. But I'll never forget, because I didn't go to university. All right. But I'll never forget what my boss said to me back then. He said, "You can't sell what you don't believe in." He said, before you can convince anyone else, you have to convince the toughest customer that you'll ever meet. Who's that? Yourself. And the same goes for us. We can't share a gospel that we're only half sold on. Now think about that. Jesus' words have to be in us and echo in us before we can go out and make disciples. That always starts in prayer long before it starts in a conversation. For example, step one. First, talk to God about the people you love, and then talk to the people you love about God. Trust me, skipping step one, it never ends well. Pray for them first, and then speak to them. That's how grace gets into the conversation. And I found the easiest way to make a disciple is just to tell them your story. Just tell them what God has done for you in your life, and that's it, And at the same time, don't feel like God's picked the worst possible spokesman for him. Okay, you can do it. We can all do it, no matter what age, no matter how old we are. Especially older people are better because you have that wisdom of so many years. But don't think he's picked the worst possible spokesman. That's where the devil trips us up. For example, when I was selling vacuum cleaners, I used to think, who am I to sell these things? I don't even vacuum, okay? My wife does, I'm not at all qualified. But see, that attitude, it didn't help me at all. Because at the end of the day, God isn't looking for perfect sales reps, just those who actually believe in the product, the gospel. Okay, so what I've learned is also, in trying to make disciples and be one, is that our human frailty, it will trip us up many times. So we'll have to forgive ourselves many times so as to get back up and into the game. See, God knows our weaknesses, and he still wants us on his sales team. He still wants us there. Now, back to the ascension. Just before liftoff, Jesus says, I will be with you always. And then up and away in the clouds he goes. Then the angels show up, reminding the apostles that he will return again. And yes, he will come again as he promised at the end of time. But, and I'll end with this, he also comes now on this altar when we, quote, do this in remembrance of me. It's right here today that he keeps the promise. I am with you always. Stay with us, Lord.